Welcome. In this video, we are going to be discussing how to calculate quartiles and interquartile range for grouped data. Now, from our previous lessons, we learned that interquartile range is the difference between the upper quartile and the lower quartile. So if we are to calculate the interquartile range, we need to first determine the quartiles for that data. That's the lower quartile, the middle quartile, which is the median, and the upper quartile. Now, for grouped data, we calculate or determine the quartiles from a cumulative frequency curve, which means that before we can determine the quartiles, we need to first plot a cumulative frequency curve. Let's take an example of a question. This question is about the masses of school bags of 60 students. And that's the table, the frequency table, and we're required to find the lower quartile, median, and upper quartile of that distribution. In order to solve this, we need to first plot a cumulative frequency curve. For this question, I have a pre-plotted cumulative frequency curve. So what we are going to be doing in this video is also analyzing the curve and see how do we determine the different quartiles. Now, quartiles, for us to get quartiles, it means that we divide the data into 4 equal groups. So lower quartile, which is Q1, becomes n out of 4. N being the number of bags we have in this case, or the number of items for the distribution. So our n in this case is 60 because we are looking at a total of 60 bags. So we'll have a 60 over 4, which is 15. So what happens is we go to the cumulative frequency axis, that's the y-axis, and look for 15. So 15 would be over here. We draw a horizontal line to the curve and a vertical line away from the curve to the x-axis, or the axis which has the mass, and we read that from there. Now, depending on your scale, at some point you have to do some estimation. So from this scale, my Q1 is a 6.5 kilograms, okay? Then Q2, which is the median, Q2 is going to be n over 2. That's the middle number. So it's going to be 60 over 2, which is a 30. So we go on the cumulative frequency, look for 30 again, draw a horizontal line to the curve and a vertical one away from the curve. And depending on your scale, once again, from this you have to read that value. Now on this scale, the value for Q2 is 8.3 kilograms. Then Q3, which is the upper quartile, Q3 is 3/4 of the whole distribution. So that's going to be 60 times 3/4, which is a 45. So once again, we'll go to our graph, locate 45 on the cumulative frequency axis, draw a horizontal line to the curve and away from the curve, and read that value off. Now, when we are marking this question, we usually mark a range of values because there might be a difference in plotting, like drawing the smooth curve. So your answers have to be in an acceptable range. Okay, so when we read from this, our Q3 is going to be, our Q3 from that graph is 10.2 kilograms. So back to our question, required us to find the median, lower quartile, and upper quartile. So Q1 is the lower quartile, Q2 is the median, and Q3 is the upper quartile. Then for the interquartile range, that's part B, it's going to be, that's the interquartile range, or IQR. It's going to be Q3 minus Q1. From our question, the Q3 is 10.2 minus Q1 6.5, which is 3.7 kilograms. So once again, if you are required to calculate the quartiles and the interquartile range for grouped data, we do it from the frequency table.